Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to season one of the BU. I'm sorry, season two of the BU TV. Today we have a special guest. I am going to introduce her in a minute. So we just want to welcome you to the BU TV. My name is Kathleen Wainwright, and I am the host. So the BU TV is brought to you by Dear Beautiful Brown Girl and the Beautiful Brown Girl Project. We are a lifestyle brand for girls, for Black girls. We deliver innovative products to inspire a strong sense of self and cultural pride through representation and the celebration of us through our apparel, our accessories, our characters, and our literature. We strive to encourage Black girls to walk this earth with a sense of self so strong that it cannot be manipulated or demeaned by anyone. Tonight, our BUTV is a short live segment. We are live on Facebook, live on YouTube. We are dedicating this episode and this season to promoting and celebrating our young, influential brown girls and women. This season, I'm celebrating the amazing women that helped make Dear Beautiful Brown Girl possible, from the CEO of my life, my mom, who's here with us tonight, my IP lawyer, my business coaches, my graphic designer, and more. So tune in as we share some behind the scenes information and tips as we discuss our journey through entrepreneurship. Welcome, Karen Eskridge. Karen is my mom, my first guest. I wanted you here tonight because I am celebrating all of the women who support me through my brand. It just so happens that the majority of people who work with me behind the scenes are Black women, from you being my mentor, my coach, my CEO. And then we have my graphic designer, my IP lawyer, my coaches. I have two business coaches. So I just wanted to spend the season celebrating, discussing, talking about the behind the scenes things that go into building a brand, and just share that journey on our BUTV live segment along with some other guests. But welcome, Ma.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, Kathleen. Do I have to call you Kathleen?
You can you can call me what you name me. Kathy,
Okay.
Kathleen. What do you want to do?
We'll go with
Kathy.
Kathy.
Kathy is
Okay.
cool. What do I
Yeah.
call you? Do I call you Ma, or do I call you Karen Eskridge?
You don't have to use the last name.
Karen, call you Karen. Okay,
Karen.
Karen, let's chat.
Let's chat.
Okay. So when I sent you your survey, so everyone, I'll just let you know, my mom wanted to talk prior to the show, so I could let her know what kind of questions I'm going to ask and how the interview is going to go. But like I tell all the guests that come on the BUTV, I don't like to chat before the show, so everything comes out and it's authentic and organic. Is not prepared in advance, so just relax. I don't know, it's crazy because I even sent messages to my sisters, your children, and I'm like, what questions should I ask? Because there's so many, like, we can go in so many different directions with this. So I figured, I think what would be most meaningful and beneficial to the audience is to talk about your journey, I guess, through your professional life.
Okay.
Because a lot of times when we talk and when you do like different speaking engagements, you always go back to your, well,
25-year plan.
yeah, your 25-year plan. And so I thought it would be good to just talk about that and how
Okay.
that changed the trajectory of your life, I believe.
Yeah, it did.
So
Okay. So it's funny because when I watched King Richard, what did he do? He wrote a plan, right?
right.
When I listened to Will Smith's book, what did he do? He wrote a plan. So I'm like, okay, I'm in the mix. I got this. So it happened in my 20s. My 20s were rough years. I lost both my parents and my first husband by the age of 25. And it all happened within a span of about 4 years. And when I turned 25, I cried for a whole year. And I woke up one morning, was towards the end of the year, and I was like, I can't go on like this. So So I sat down and I wrote a plan. This is where I want to be by the time I'm 50. These are the things I want to accomplish. So it was kind of like a career bucket list. It was on that day that I decided that I was no longer just going to have a job, I was going to have a career. And so I started putting everything into order. I finished my undergrad work. That had to be done. I had to improve my credit. That had to be done. I mean, there were just so many things along the way that you really don't think about or you take for granted that influence your ability to move forward. And so I laid out the plan, and part of it was one of the milestones or the goals was to be an executive within a large company. I wrote down some today. I said it was to reach the executive management level, to run a company, to work with strong women, and bring others along. And so that's really how I had laid out my path. So Independence Blue Cross, I can only say good things about my career there. I went in as a clerk, retired in 2009 as the vice president of claim services and operations, and that was a big deal. And when I retired, I knew I was going to continue working. I just didn't know what I was going to do. So I started consulting with a previous colleague, and took me out to Albuquerque and got to get a feel of living away and just trying something different, and went out there, and they were in a lot of turmoil when I went out. Got them kind of straight, and they were like, hey, would you be interested in staying on as our chief operating officer? And I was like, sure. Never lived in Albuquerque, why not? And so spent 4 years there, and then we sold that business. And so at the end, as that business was closing down, I got a call from Johns Hopkins from a recruiter who said, hey, Johns Hopkins is looking for someone to help run their health plan. I mean, who knew that Johns Hopkins had a health plan? They're world renowned for their medical centers and everything in their university, but they do have a health plan. So I came back east in 2014 and took on the role of chief operating officer there, which allowed me to run the company on a day-to-day basis. I worked with a very strong female leader. I was able to build a team of strong women. And so I continue to check off things on my career bucket list. So that's kind of how it came about.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny because when you talk about like your life through your professional career, like as you're growing, it's so many things. Because when I think about, so when I was in college, you were the age that I am now, right? Because I'm 44 now.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And so it's weird because in my mind, when you were 44, you were like so mature, you had your whole life together. And when I look at myself at 44, I don't feel like I'm half the adult that you were at 44. But the parallel is this. So while you were going through your life and learning your lessons and becoming the professional that you were becoming, at the same time, you were giving us life lessons and showing us the way and how to be women. So when you talk about cleaning up your credit within those 25 years, and for me, like, there was no credit to clean up because I didn't have the opportunity to screw it up because you were teaching me what to do, like along the way, I guess, as you were learning those things and improving your own life, you were setting the example for us and giving us those hard lessons. Like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I remember like taking rides, and you would just say like, let's go for a ride. And you would explain to me the process of refinancing your mortgage and retirement plans. And I'm just soaking all of this stuff up. But in hindsight, I'm like, so I think you were thinking out loud and figuring it out and then teaching me at the same time as you were processing it and learning it along the way. But there were so many things you taught us, just in terms of like little things, managing our checkbooks, like how to budget our checkbooks, and
showing up to work, giving you the side eye when you said you were going to call out sick. Yeah, things like that.
You're not early, you're late. If you
That's
show up
right.
on time, you're late. So yeah, and just giving us all of those life lessons. And then it's like, as we I know a lot of times people ask me, well, because I start businesses all the time. I'm always trying something new. And it's like, where do you get all of this from? And I'm like, I remember the first business I saw ran from an entrepreneur was yours. As 5 or 4 years old with the gym.
Right.
And as we got older, you and Auntie did the catering company. You had us working for you. And so it was really just like in my blood because you modeled it, but I didn't know because we're just,
Right.
growing up and living. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I was living out loud, right? I
Uh-huh.
mean, when thoughts would come into my head, those are the things that I would talk about, whether it was, with you or Kathy or Bentley or Sharon. It was like if I was thinking it, I was processing it. I'm an out loud processor. So that's how those things happen. But then also, our goal as parents and also as leaders is to help people avoid the pitfalls that we've experienced.
Right.
And so, anything that not necessarily to protect you, but just to
Right.
lift a level of awareness. So when these situations would come about, you would have some idea of the questions you should ask. Like when you were going for a loan and I was like, well, what's the interest rate? And what's the
Right.
term?
Right.
And, what if you paid off early? But those are questions that unfortunately a lot of our younger folks, when they're coming up, don't know to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And so they end up in debt. When you were at Temple and that credit card came in, and I'm like,
MBNA
how
MasterCard.
how did you get a credit card? You don't even have a job.
Listen, it's how we ate lunch.
But those are and it's like, okay, so what are you going to do with this?
Right.
And so it's really about just not so much, like I said, trying to protect, but more or less to impart so that when these things come up, that there are pitfalls that you could hit. But that was living out loud, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, because I mean, we got so many nuggets, like so many things. You taught us, and I just remembered, like, even when we were interviewing for jobs, you gave us mock interviews. You looked at our resume. Like, it was just so many things you did along the way with us that just made us so career minded, I think, at a young age, that it set us up for success. And I mean, we just had a great model. But the big thing was like the mock interviews. I feel like I could interview for anybody after sitting through your interview.
Well, and again, that was from the experiences that I had, right? Um, Going through the process. But, I have to back it up. I was very lucky. I had good mentors and I had good friends and I had people who imparted information to me. They said each one should bring one. And it's not just in trying to open up a door for them, but it's giving them the tools that they can put in their toolbox. So when these opportunities come up, they know which ones to pull out, right? You don't pull out a screwdriver when you should be using a wrench, and knowing when one applies and one doesn't. So I was very lucky. I was very fortunate. I had good peer friends. I had good leader people in my life. The first woman that I ever saw was in a power position was a woman named Mary Molina, dressed to the nines every day, straight South Philly, but like she would just give you these nuggets from time to time and just like drop it on you. But I'll never forget, I interviewed poorly, apparently, for a position that I was going for. And I was so angry because the person who got the job, I had been training all along. How many people have experienced that, right? And so Mary was like, well, what's your problem? What's your problem? Like, what is the problem? And I told her, I said, they looked me up and down and which way and this way. And then they ended up hiring someone that I'm training, for this. And she said, think about your approach. She said, there's two ways that you can go about it. You can throw a boulder and make a big splash, which you do, which you have done, or you can skip some pebbles and do the ripples, right? And that day I understood I didn't need to be a boulder, right? I didn't need to make a big splash every time something came up. I could throw the pebbles and do the ripples and get things accomplished that way. But that was a huge lesson, right?
Yeah.
And how many people take the time after you interview that poorly to sit down and give you that kind of information?
Yeah.
So it's really about just making sure people are equipped, that they have the tools.
Well, the one thing you modeled for us, and it wasn't intentional, it was just something that you did. But the first thing, one of the things that I remember from Blue Cross is you always talked about how when you went in and you climbed the ladder, and with every raise that you got, you took Miss Pat, your secretary, with you. So every time you got a raise or you got promoted, you took her with you. So as you grew, she grew. And as a child, we just knew like Miss Pat became family. Like Miss Pat was like you took her along. And
she
then
was the gatekeeper.
Yeah. But that was such as small as it may seem, not small, I don't think that's what I want to say, but it wasn't an intentional lesson, but it left like a very big statement. Like it left like, stay loyal to your team, and when you grow, take them with you.
But that I worked with people like that,
Yeah.
right? I worked with people like that. I worked with people who not necessarily dragged you along and put you in jobs that you didn't deserve, but when opportunities were there, they, one, let you know that the opportunities were there, and secondly, they help you prepare for being, in that opportunity. So that's what I got, right? So as I later, when I really started mentoring folks, they would say, oh, what can I do? And I was like, you got to do this for somebody else, right? That's how you pay it forward. You don't stop it with you, right? You take what's been shared and then share it with someone else,
right?
And that's how you bring folks along, right? That's how it's done. It's not handing anyone anything. It's again imparting that information, giving them the resources and the tools, and when opportunities are there, helping them prepare for them.
And I think I embody that, and I think I embody it because I've seen it in action. Like that's what you did, and I think that stuck with me because even with my team, with everyone that's been with me, I still have the same people I started with. And like I don't go looking for different people because something else is happening and someone shared the information on Instagram, and I've stuck with the same team that I've had like along the way, and I think I've saw it in action.
But it's always good to open your team up too, right?
Right. But I'm
Because
loyal to the
anytime you find yourself the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room.
I agree.
Right? You're in the wrong room. So it's like you really, I pride myself on the teams that I built.
Yeah.
I had strong teams.
Yeah.
Right. And the way I knew they were strong was that when I wasn't there, the team functioned well because they were good at what they did and they were allowed to do it. They were allowed to do their jobs. So, it's makes your life easier when you have a good team.
I've been lucky. I think I have a very strong network. I'm surrounded by strong, and I continue to stretch and grow and connect the dots. But my question:
you can't underestimate the value of your network.
Right?
You just can't.
I agree. I think I get that from you. My question is,
okay,
where do you find your inspiration, your motivation, your grit? Like, how did you push through? Because I know firsthand, I lived with you. It was times when things were just really tough. And so how did you find like that motivation or that inspiration to keep on the path when things got really challenging?
What else do you do? I mean, what else do you do? When it was always like I always knew what I had in the plan.
Right.
And that's what kept me focused, right? And if I got off track with the plan, I knew I was off track and I knew what I needed to do to get back in line with my plan. The plan was like the roadmap. And as long as I could navigate that, then I think I was good. So if I had a goal when I was close to it, why was I going to stop? Right. It's tough times. I knew people who had tougher times than we had.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was like they got through it. My parents had tough times. They got through it. They raised 6 kids, on one salary until our youngest was in school full time. So that
yeah,
it's just, I guess it was ingrained in me from my parents. It was just like that work ethic of you get up, you go, you don't stop because it's hard. It's just something you have to get through.
So let's go through some of our famous lines.
Okay.
So because you said
Parallelisms.
huh?
Well, go ahead.
So come on, because you say one thing you told me, you said cry today and then get your ass up and go to work tomorrow.
That's right. Put it in the box.
You can cry today, give yourself one day to cry, and then get your ass up and go to work tomorrow.
That's right. That's it.
That stuck with me. Another one, what's another saying that you would tell us? I'll give you a hint.
Don't believe your own hype.
What? Yeah.
Don't get caught believing your own hype.
What's another one?
Well, I don't, there was the whole cycle of, oh, you don't feel good? Get up. You'll feel better. Take a shower. You'll feel better. Walk to school. You'll feel better. And you're in class. By the time they call me, you'll be out of school. So just feel better. Like that was, don't get sick.
So listen, from elementary to high school, I think I missed 3 days of school. From kindergarten to 12th grade.
And you didn't go to school sick. I don't want anyone thinking that I sent you to school sick.
No, but this was the rule. It was get up, see how you feel. Eat breakfast, see how you feel. Get washed up, see how you feel. Get dressed, see how you feel. Go to school, see how you feel. By the time you get out the house, you don't even want to stay home because you're awake now. So you might as well go to school. But in college, it stuck with me because you didn't stay home because you felt like it. Like you just don't stay home because you feel like it. In college, I missed 3 days. Well, I missed 1 day when Sharon had Reagan because I got stuck at the hospital with her. And then the second, I missed like 2 or 3 days when I had the procedure done on my heart. Out of my 4 years. That's it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Up until this point, now my last year in school district,
You got that side eye the other day.
I got that side eye. That's another conversation. 100 and something sick days going into the school year because I don't call out. Like I go to work. Yeah. Like you have to go to work,
right? I mean, it's so important that you show up. Mind, body, and soul. It's important that you show up. People either depend on you to show up, or it takes the burden off of other folks when you show up to do your job. So it's like, just do it.
Well, another saying, put your
what?
Put your titties on.
Oh, your bra.
And then this is one I've been saying all year. This has been mine. I shared this with my coach, my business coach for the tutoring business. I said, there is no plan B. Plan B is make plan A work.
That's right.
Yeah.
Although you always have one in the drawer. But plan B is to make plan A work.
To make plan A work. You have some comments.
It should work.
You got Carmen on. Hey, Carm. You got Tamika. Hey, Tamika. Your child is here. Your oldest born, Sharon.
Of course she is.
She said, "We're your motivation." She said
but let me be real clear. She has a very good point with that, because there was well, you know, when you guys turned a certain age, what did you have to do? You had to take that trip, right? You had to take that trip.
I had to share this with a student today because she could relate.
So, but because I was so fearful when I was younger to like travel by myself or get outside of my comfort zone, that I said I was never going to let you guys be that way. So when you turned, what was it, 14, 15, you had to take a trip by yourself. How old were you? Sharon, when Sharon took her trip, we changed the phone number.
Take a trip by yourself. Mine, was it a trip? I left home.
Yes, you did.
I left home. It was 15 through my 16th birthday. Yes. 15 July of the summer. I was 15, came home post Sweet 16.
Yes.
But
you know. Yeah.
But Sharon highlighted something.
So when you did motivate me, I'll never forget, because you know, we were living in Yaden. We had the house in Yaden. We were, you know, happy there. We had completely gutted it. We had redone it. And we had always toyed with, oh, let's move. And I was like, do I really want to get into that? I don't know. And then boom, how old were you when you bought your house?
Like 24,
yeah.
25.
24, 25. And I was like, girl, get off your ass and buy this house that you want. Right. So, I mean, that was motivation. Just when I would watch you guys compete in your athletics, you know, when I would see the things that you were going through, yeah, you definitely motivated me. Definitely.
Well, Sharon said she filed and highlighted as a kid. And I think this is important because for anyone watching, my mom refused to spend over $45 on a pair of sneakers. She just refused. Like, she was not going to pay $50, $60, $75 for a pair of sneakers. If we wanted them, we had to pay for them ourselves. And so Reebok Classics were $54. So I had to work to earn my sneaker money. But like, that was such a huge lesson. Like, those are things I carried into my adulthood. Like, just, you know, working for what you want, putting money to the side, like not taking it for granted. When you work for it, you treat it differently.
Absolutely. I mean, what did I tell you? What did I tell you when you were going to Temple?
You said, can I use the exact phrasing? You said, you have 4 years, get in and get out. Because if you F up in school, you're going to F up my retirement. I got in and I got out.
But it
on Dean's list. Like, I
this
didn't.
is the truth.
You say you're paying out of your pocket. Nobody is giving me this money for free.
That's right.
Get in and get out. Yeah.
Yeah. Get it done. Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that you instead, like, because you would pay for, if I brought home a Scholastic book order form, I could get $100 worth of books. If I was running track, you'd pay for spikes, all that stuff. You'd pay for anything. But if I just wanted I want a pair of door knockers, or I want a pair of Reeboks, or I wanted this, I wanted that. Those things I had to work for. Like, those,
because they weren't necessities.
Yeah.
They weren't necessities. But it's funny because when she said she highlighted and filed, all of you worked at Blue Cross. Yeah. All of you worked at Blue Cross. Because there were those Saturdays when you were in there filing and doing copying, doing all kinds of stuff. But each of you have worked at Blue Cross.
Yeah, definitely. What has contributed to your success? I know you set that plan in place, like you set the goal, the 25-year plan, but what else has contributed to your success?
I mean, It's not so much about personal achievement. I just like to see things work. I like to see things work. I like to see things be better. I like to see things get built, and I like to see things finished. And I think that that was just, you know, I became a supervisor because I had a horrible supervisor, right? And when and I mean, I had been a lifeguard up until that point, you know, and I'm sitting in this office, and this woman, I'm looking at her, and I'm like, is this how you talk to people? Like, is this how you lead people? Is this how you get people to do what you want them to do? And I was just like, oh, I need to be a supervisor, right? I just need to do that. And then each time it was just something else added to it. But it really is about like seeing things happen, seeing things get done, seeing things get executed, and being able to say, yeah, boom, put a stamp on it. Let's move on. What's next? You know,
Right.
I think that's really it. And I like to see other people do well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if there's an opportunity, push them into it.
Yeah.
Nobody's ready for an opportunity until they're in it, right? It's like, oh no, um, I could never start my own business. Oh yeah, you can. Get your feet in it, and you'll find out that you have it. You have what's in it. I could never lead this team. Yeah, you can, because once you sit in that seat and you know you're the leader, you have a different weight and you have a different presence, and you're like, oh yeah, I can make this decision. I'll do that. Yeah.
Well, one thing I remember you telling me is never say you can't do anything. Like if someone said, "Oh, can you do this?" and you haven't learned how to do it yet, don't say I can't do it. Say, "Oh, I can learn."
Well, and thank you, because even when I was at Blue Cross, you said climbing the ladder. I didn't climb the ladder. I climbed up, and then I went around. And
Okay.
then I climbed up, and then I went around. And what I mean by that is I climbed up, I got to a certain level, and then I looked and said, oh, but wait a minute, I should really understand how this works, and I should understand how that works. I was in the midst of operations, and it was like, hey, would you like to go over to IT and work in IT? And it was like, hey, yeah, because guess what, I don't have an IT degree. I would never get in there otherwise. But you go in, and that is really what propelled me and
Mm-hmm.
helped me when I went out to Albuquerque and got offered that job, because I knew all the pieces of the operation. So it's not a straight climb.
Right.
You go up, and then you broaden, you go up, and you broaden.
I'm glad that you mentioned Albuquerque because I have wrote that down to circle back. Because even with well, first I want to say hi to a few of your friends that are on here who have spoken to you. So Jessica said your mother is so amazing, a life educator, always willing to mentor others. Nancy Spence, you're the best, Karen. Miss
Nancy.
Carly, oh yes, you are. Kathy, I'm not sure what I said. I probably said something, but yeah, you have friends on here. Carmen, it's a lot of people on here. So you mentioned Albuquerque, and Albuquerque was such a defining moment. I think, like you have, like I said, so many lessons. I guess you're just living your life, but you're still setting the example for us as we watch you, and as you. I mean, I was grown. You weren't raising me, but you're still my mom. So whatever. But when you went to Albuquerque, that was such a lesson because you want to talk about it?
Well, yeah, Albuquerque, I think, was defining for me as an individual, but it was also a defining moment for you girls,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because personally, I had never lived on my own. I lived with my parents, I got married, I had kids, I got married again, had another kid, but I had never lived on my own. Well, this was an opportunity for me to live on my own, to have my own space. That's a big deal. Don't underestimate it, right? And so I had the opportunity to do that, but at the same time, I had the opportunity not to be so available, right? It was like, you call and say, what happened to hey, I'm in Albuquerque. What do you want me to do? I'm not going to get on a plane and come home. Like, figure it out, solve it, right? So I think it was that separation period that we all needed in order to continue to grow as individuals, because there was a lot of interdependency there, right? And this kind of like teased it out, and everybody kind of, you know, did their thing. And that was right after the year of no, right? Remember the year of no, when everything yes, I was like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not doing no, I can't do that. And then it was like boom. But I think it was like that personal growth period for everybody.
But for you, I think what stood out for me was, I mean, you had a choice. You could stay or you could go. And there were things that could have definitely kept you from going, but it was about you and what you needed to do for you. And to me, that was also a defining moment because, you know, a lot of times we make decisions based on what other people need. And this was such a life turning moment, and you did it for you.
Well, I will tell you that that was one of the lessons that I carried from my first company, from Blue Cross. I stayed at Blue Cross, at Independence Blue Cross, 34 years. I probably should have left at 20 or 25. My friend Kate got out. She left, right? A few other people left, but I probably should have gotten out before I did. But you know, sometimes when you work with teams and you're so committed to your team, you feel like you can't move until your team is right, right? Or until this project gets done or this person gets situated. But some, you know, what I found and what I came to realize later in life was that sometimes you just have to make the hard decisions and move because it's the best thing for you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's what keeps you being good at what you do, right? You don't get resentful, you don't get bitter, you don't get those things because you did everything you could there. It's never going to be 100%, and at some point you just have to say, you know what, now's a good time, and move on. I had opportunities in that time period to move, but again, you know, it was more like, oh, you know, for the good of the company, and the company, and that's a good thing to do. But at the end of the day, it is a company, and you do have to think about your own personal growth as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just think it was amazing that you moved across the country by yourself. Um,
Well, okay, so let's.
yeah,
I did want my husband to come with me. He didn't like
right.
Albuquerque, so he stayed in Philadelphia. I don't want anybody to think. I just said I'm gonna be single. I call it
No,
my
no,
fake,
no, not that.
huh?
Huh? What did you
My
say?
fake single years.
Fake single. We'll call them the gap years.
Okay, the gap years or the missing years, whatever you want to call them.
No, but it was definitely a defining moment. My
Yeah, it
question
was.
is, when you think about all of the things that you have done, and just give a minute and think about this, what was your biggest failure?
Oh man, one. You want to know one? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you the one of the biggest failures I had, and and I would one of the biggest failures I had was when I was at Blue Cross. I had a very large team, right? I had a very large team. I had probably for claims, all the claims area, the the mail room. Like I probably had at the end of the day, because we had so many claims processors,
Mm-hmm.
um, almost like it was like 1,000 people. It was large, and they had done some consolidation and stuff. And I knew I was not being paid at an equitable rate. And so I went to my boss and I was like, you know, this is ridiculous. This, you know, this needs to change. And so what they did was they split my area. And rather than give me more money, the message they got from me when I had that conversation with them was that I couldn't handle the load. So they split the load.
Mm-hmm.
So I that to me was like my biggest failure in really articulating what my issue was and what I wanted.
Okay.
And that kind of, that stuck with me. That
What did
stuck
you
with
learn
me.
from it?
Well, one, be clear in what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Two, be even more clear in what you're asking for.
Okay.
Right. And be very clear that, this is not an equitable situation. There are people I know that are at a higher pay rate. There are people who don't have as much responsibility, right? You need to make this equitable. And yeah, and that was a hard lesson. That was a hard lesson, and I do characterize that as a failure.
Okay. But the one of the reels that I shared on Instagram the other day is you can't have success without having
Oh, you
failure.
got to fail forward. You got to fail forward. I
That's
mean,
one of the phrases I use from you. Fail
yeah, you
forward.
got to fail forward. I mean, I had a lot of stuff that went wrong. I mean, my whole thing was, and I would tell my folks this all the time. The worst thing you can do is not make a decision anytime, right? So you make a decision. Some of them will be good, some of them will be bad. But at least if it's bad, you know how to go forward and correct it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, yeah, I made bad decisions. Everybody, if anybody's telling you they never did, they're lying through their teeth. But yeah, I've made bad decisions and made bad calls and had things go left, you know. Um, but I also had good teams that, were really good with recovery. But yeah, I mean, you gotta fail. If you don't fail, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
That's another phrase I use from you all the time. You don't know what you don't know. My question is, what do you want to be remembered for?
Um, I don't know, just being a good person.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in the beginning when we talked about like you were the executive, I think we could have spent a little bit of time on the fact that I know that when it comes to my friends, and the people in my life, you weren't just my mom. I had to share you with a lot of people, because people lean on you. They come to you for advice. You've mentored a lot of people. You've coached a lot of people, and so if I had to remember one thing aside from all of the things you did for me as a mom, I think it would be like just being that person for a lot of other people as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. But yeah,
That was a
but
flower.
when people help you,
I
it's a
agree.
no-brainer. Like nobody does this by themselves. Nobody does this alone. And if somebody says, "Oh, I did this by my," no, you didn't. There was
Right.
always someone else back there, either clearing a little bit of a path or pushing you on your back or something. Like nobody does it alone.
If you could give a piece of advice to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Go straight to business. Forget the journalism. I
Okay.
wouldn't
And
change anything. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I am who I am because of my experiences and the life that I've had and lived
mhm.
and continue to live. So no, I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I would have gotten to the business maybe faster.
Okay. All right. And three most influential people, I mean, aside from me, who are the three most influential people in your life? And it can be people you know or don't know.
Well, I'm going to count my parents as one.
Okay.
My parents were very influential. My father had just a ridiculous work ethic, um, and he balanced a checkbook on a monthly basis. My mother was one of these people always all in my head. She would like write checks and my father would like, did you know if money was in the bank? It's all in my head. But my father was like, write it down, track it. So to this day, I have my bill book. And I
Right.
write everything down and I track it. So ridiculous work ethic. Just go after what you want. The second person, influential in my life, right, is a person named Joe Smith. And not for good reasons was he the most influential. He showed me the type of leader that I'd never, ever wanted to be. Right? He showed me, like, with full 2020 vision, the worst type of leader you could ever be in an organization. And that influenced me. That influenced the way I did a lot of things. So I count him as an influence. And the third, they're not individuals, they're my teams. My teams when I was at Blue Cross, my teams when I was in Albuquerque, and my team when I was in Hopkins. Because they got it done. They always came through. They always got it done. And that's an influence. It's a motivator. It just keeps you going. And they influenced me every day. Every day.
What's next? What's next, Karen Eskridge?
Well, right now, Kathleen, I'm working with two nonprofits. One is Swim Club, doing some things there, getting my feet back into different aspects of strategizing and things of that nature. And I'll be working with Dear Beautiful Brown Girl to establish their nonprofit foundation.
We've already started the strategic planning.
Yes, we have.
So nonprofit coming soon.
Yeah.
All right, lightning round. Are you ready?
Oh gosh.
All right. You can't take a long time to think. These are just fun questions. We talked about a lot of stuff. Now we're just gonna get to know you on the light side. So talking or texting?
Texting.
Text, yeah. Favorite day of the week?
I'm sorry?
Favorite day of the week?
Sunday.
Family dinner? Is it
family dinner?
What are you reading
right now? Nothing.
Oh my gosh, you need to read 7 Days in June. Awesome book. Okay, that's what I'm reading right now. Last song you listened to?
Oh, it was from Happy Feet. Because I got my duties. And it was all my favorite songs that were on in the movie Happy Feet.
Okay. Favorite holiday?
I don't have one.
New Year's. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah. Well, that's New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
But New Year's Eve, yeah.
Yeah. And what's your superpower?
I don't think I have one.
What? Are you crazy? What's your superpower? You are the general. Hello. You're the general. Like you get everybody all the way together.
Okay.
You're the general.
Thank you.
Superpower, empowering others. I would agree, sister. Sharon said empowering others.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Did you have fun?
I did. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone. I see Nancy Spence. Oh, I will say this. Shout out to the admins of the world and the executive assistants of the world. And I have more appreciation now than I ever did before, having to now schedule meetings because I don't have people anymore. I am the people. And whole new level of respect for when I used to say, how hard can it be to schedule that meeting? Work it. And now, no, it's not easy at all. Whole new level of respect. Thank you very much for all the support, Nancy Spence.
I love you. Can you see her comments?
Yes.
Okay, she said, love you. All right, Ma. It was so awesome having you on.
Kate said, even I knew New Year's.
Oh,
I know, it's just, it is I don't even view it as a holiday though. It's like my favorite day of the year.
Because I mean, we don't celebrate holidays, but
Right.
I feel like it's that's the one day that's non-negotiable family
Non-negotiable.
wide.
That's
Like
right.
you gotta come to New Year's Eve, period. I mean,
Period.
we had,
You
COVID
get your
this
you get your you
year.
get your one pass.
Right. That too. And this year we had to not cancel, but bring it down because of COVID. But yeah. So Dawn hopped on. Dawn, this was great. Thank you for sharing your amazing mother with us. You both are beautiful beings. Thank you, Dawn. Dawn is a teacher in the school district of Philadelphia. Also, she wrote a
Oh,
book.
but my favorite, which is not really a holiday, but it could be for us, is Girls Week.
Oh, yes. Girls Week. Yes.
Girls Week.
Yes. Carmen said this was great. Fallon said hi. Miss
Hi.
Sissy said she enjoyed it. Tamika said awesome. Thank you. This was cool. Missed you and love you guys. Miss you too, Tamika, and your voice. We miss you too. So, Mom, thank you for hopping on. And just thank you for all of just everything. Just thank you for everything because you give me so much. I mean, like I said, I just, I think of you at 44 and me at 44. I mean, I'm still eating Frosted Flakes for dinner. And I like I just don't feel like I'm the adult at 44 that you were at 44. But I also learned as an adult that, that's a whole nother conversation. I'll dive into that later.
Okay.
But but it was great having you on. I appreciate
It was great being here. And thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Yes, plenty of nuggets. And just we'll hop on again. For the rest of the season, we are going to be chatting with Deanna Murray, my graphic designer, Talaya Diggs, my IP lawyer, Kalia, my coach, my business coach, and hopefully my other business coach. We have just a lineup because, again, the team that I have in place is so dope. And I just want to share with everybody all of the things, all of the lessons, all of the nuggets, and just the different experiences with Black women. So
it's good. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes. So everybody, thank you for hopping on. Thank you for joining us. We will be back in 2 weeks. Black Children's Book Week starts on February 27th, and we will be hosting a different interview every day that week from a published author. Dawn Sorden will be one of our guests that Thursday, actually. And we will just be sharing different books. If you slide past my Instagram page or my website, www.thebeyouboutique.com, you can find 28 days of Black girl books as we celebrate Black History Month. And just have a great week, everybody. And we will be back soon. Thank you for logging on with us. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.